We've talked about mentors, but you guys are mentors as well. Do you take particular student athletes and you see something in that particular student athlete that you say, I need to spend more time with he or she, because I think they have what it takes to really move on to the next level, to start to coach, to give back to the community? Is that something you actively look for as coaches?
Well, part of the job is getting to know the athletes individually. And so having those conversations of, understanding what their major is, understanding where they want to go and what they want to do, and helping them pick what their next step is going to be, and then deciding what your role is going to be in that and where you can insert yourself. And if you want to be a coach, then yeah, let's do some practice coaching now. Or if you do want to be like a dermatologist or something, then that's kind of more what you got to do, and you got to do more stuff like that. But giving them the tools to do that the right way is probably one of my favorite parts about the job.
Yeah, I think that my student athletes, the ones that have an interest in coaching, are the ones that really ask a lot of questions, that are saying, so what was your path? Or how would you bring this issue to the team? Or what would you do to coach this particular skill? I find the ones that are asking those questions are the ones that have the interest and want to move on and be able to give back to the sport. Most of them just come right out and say, I want your job. I want to have your job. and I'll have to say, well, okay, well, this is what you need to do. And there's a lot of work that goes along into that. It's not just fun games. Yes, it's exciting. We love what we do, but there is a lot of work that goes into getting to where this is. And you have to start at a certain point. And they're interested in that, and they take that in, and they understand it, and then move along with it and say, well, can I shadow you? Or is there someone that you can get me in contact with that could help me on that path? So that's what I tend to find with my gymnasts, is that they initiate the conversations. And then there are the ones that have those questions but don't initially say, this is what I want to do, that you kind of say, well, you know what, I think have you ever thought about coaching? You might have a skill for this, a talent for being able to give back and coach. So I think it goes both ways, that you see both, that they initiate it, or you see something in them where you kind of plant the seed and say, I think this might be something that you'll be good at.
Well, I know like in our sport, this is kind of like a hot topic of just women in coaching, and part of the topic is about the number of conversations that coaches are getting from their players. They're like, hey, I would like to be a coach. It's like, sometimes it takes years to hear that request or for more information. But I think a lot of, and I only can speak for my sport, but we're kind of facing like, okay, what does that all look like? I have some idea, but I don't know if I want that to be like, and I told you my side, I was like, there's no way I was gonna get in coaching. But I think as far as being the mentor and looking for those kids, like, do you always want to wear cams? Are you really good at it? Like, not just like a good motivator, but just really good trainer, like you have it all. So I have reached out like, hey, have you ever thought about coaching? Because I think you could be good at it. So you look for it, but then it's also part of getting to know the players as well. And sometimes it is a diamond in the rough, not gonna lie. There was one player we had, she was so good at accountability, but had the worst tone doing it. And and it's like, oh, she can do it. She's saying the right things. It's just coming off weird. And so, she's coaching, slowly getting there. She's doing like a junior level right now, but she should be moving up. And so, but yeah, you see some of them just have a little bit, need a little polishing on the edges, but they have what it takes and the drive and the heart. And yeah, you have to reach out, at least put it in there, yeah.
Well, with me, it's a little different. The majority of my career, I was coaching women, and I work really hard in getting women to be leaders because this world tend to not allow that to happen. Women's not paid as much, women, so on and so on and so on and so forth. So I try to tell all my kids they can be coaches. because a coach is just a teacher, and a teacher is just a mentor, so on and so forth. So I want all of my kids to coach what their profession may be. If they want to go to law school, to med school, whatever, be a leader at that. You must follow initially, but as soon as you possibly can, start to lead. So I make sure my young ladies sit in front of the class, they ask a lot of questions, and then they challenge certain questions that they don't understand. And even when we're talking about track stuff, it's always going back to, this is just your interview towards your career. Whatever your career may be, you know, you're listening way too much. It's time to start talking now. It's time to lead. So I try to push my kids, to young ladies mainly, to lead and step forward. And be it that this is my 3rd year coaching men and women, when it initially started, I was really perturbed with the fact that now we're a combined program and the women were sitting back listening and following. And I pulled them off to the side and said, stop it, you know, because you're letting those guys lead you. No, you be a leader. Why are you letting them send you down the X trail? So that's my biggest thing, is trying to get the women to be leaders. My daughter is boy, she's a leader. My granddaughter, she's bossing Papa around already. So it's very important that both men and women lead. And sometimes men has it in their nature because they're trying to be that peacock to attract the girl, to try to boast themselves up and say, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. And the ladies sometimes will sit back and say, okay, I'm just gonna follow. And I see that and I get on them. I said, no, you lead. You're gonna lead. Let them follow you for a change. This is a 50-50 world. And talk about everything in terms of being a leader. And it's not just coaching athletics, it's coaching life.
Can I use that? The coaching, I like the way you said that.
Good, I have a terrible memory, so I don't remember what I said.
Don't worry, it'll be on the show.
It'll be on the show, you'll probably. So sort of going back to, I think that, you know, when we're in these roles, we're automatically responsible for mentoring and coaching them, not so much necessarily in the skill discipline, but in the life coaching and as well as professional, guiding them where they're going. You know, to James's point, having a men's and women's program it's sort of very natural, but at the same time, you're dealing in a combat sport. So my women don't sit back. They fight with swords, and they're more than willing to get out there and take on the men in any form or fashion. What I do think is interesting, it's the first time that I've had one of our fencers say, you know, I'm interested in coaching. It was just like last week, no less. And so he has gotten a waiver to be able to start working at a club, you know, doing the 7 or 8 year old classes, which for me, when I coach that, I like the beginner classes because they're young, they're malleable, and if you give them the right skill set young, then they grow up to be, you know, really good at what they do. The thing that I've also, was very fortunate. I have one of my assistant coaches is quite young. She was a NCAA champion from Ohio State, and she has turned out to be an amazing coach. And it was her first real high-level coaching job outside of coaching kids, and she's just turned it on. Had a NCAA champion individual first year out. So what I see is that if you open those opportunities and then you nurture them, and for those who are really passionate about it, and then it's just a matter of sharing what you have from the standpoint of your understanding of life, helping them figure out how they can navigate the road, because our athletes typically are professionally bound. That's the hardest part, and not necessarily in the sport, but their careers, and helping them figure out, okay, how can you do both? You know, you can have your career, you can be a competitive athlete, and then you can decide, do you want to go a coaching career in the sport, or are you going to pursue your profession? And giving them the confidence that go where your passion is, and then you can figure out how to make the economics work. And so I'm a new coach, you know, I'm in my second season. So, you know, I'm learning every step of the way, and then you just try to transfer from the coaching standpoint, you know, what your recent lessons are to them.